Hello everybody and welcome back to a Path of Exile video. Just wanted to do a quick thing today talking about a couple of things that have been, one thing that's been fixed already, I think, and then we'll watch the Path of Exile patch preview that's supposed to be coming out later this week. We'll just talk about some of those things, things that I think are cool and things that I think maybe aren't necessarily as applicable. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is that they seem to have fixed the CPU utilization problem that was causing system-wide lockups. It does seem to kind of have fixed the problem in that I haven't really had a crash in a little while, for a couple of days, I think. So I think it's finally been fixed. So I can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief now, because it's been really frustrating to A, worry about my system locking up, and then B, feeling like I can't do anything else other than just play the game and not have like my I have like a camera that I have up and some browsers and things like that. I want to be able to multitask just a little bit while I'm playing the game. So hopefully this has fixed that problem. I'll let you know if it hasn't, but ideally this has now been fixed. But the big thing we wanted to do was just kind of listen through this quick preview that GGG put out and talk about a couple of things as we go through it.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, we're back from our break. We've been playing the game a whole lot and we've been reading a whole lot of feedback as well. So it's time to assess and work out what we're going to do next. Now, later this week we'll be releasing PoE 2 0.1.1. This is a patch designed to address the concerns that we can address relatively quickly, without needing to create a new league or a new economy just yet. In this video,
I have to say I'm not necessarily looking forward to that, because if they're going to create a new league, it means that the character that I have now, well, I don't know, I'm not really sure how that, you can always continue to play the characters that you have, and I don't know that any new leagues that they come out with are really going to be that big of a deal for me, at least, because in-game content isn't really what I focus on, so. But then I won't be able to trade with people who are in the new. I don't know. We'll see how that ends up happening. I don't know if I'm going to worry about it that much.
What we're planning on doing about them. It's worth stressing that just because a specific issue isn't on this list doesn't mean that we're not aware of it or that it isn't going to get addressed. It just means that we either can't fix the problem quickly or we can't do so without the need for a new economy.
So the issue I have with that statement is that a roadmap would be nice. A roadmap that lists out all of those issues that they say they can't fix right now. Some kind of sticky roadmap somewhere that says these are the list of things that we're going to fix, so that way we know. We don't have to ask a question. They don't have to give us timelines on when they're going to get done, or they can just give us a vague, hey, near term, medium term, long term, just so we have some kind of an idea, so that we don't have to be questioning, well, do you know? Do you actually know that this is an issue? You can't just say, oh, we know. We need a roadmap for this stuff. We really do.
One of the major areas that needs a lot of attention is the base experience of mapping. We've made a lot of changes here. First, in-game maps have received a balance pass to the number of monsters, number of chests, number of magical rare monsters, number of essences, strongboxes, and precursor artifacts. You should generally find maps more rewarding than before.
I hope so.
Generally specialize in one or more of these.
The little bit of mapping I've done so far has just been kind of
Now, towers are a thing that's very important for players to run often, but we only had one of them.
I personally haven't. I've only done one of these. Oh, and yeah, let me talk about that for a second. For those of you who actually watch my content, my PoE content, I did do the tower when I said I was going to do it, but it was before they introduced the new patch, and my system crashed up just after I finished it, and I lost the footage. So, sorry, it's done, but I don't have the footage of it.
So I've added 4
That kind of sucked. I was really annoyed by that.
Alpine Ridge, Sinking Spire, Bluff.
More variety is always good.
And Mesa.
More variety is always good. I heard that doing the towers over and over again was really boring.
Make playing there less boring. We're now also spawning more maps with bosses. The rate was intended to be 1 in 4 maps, but in reality the rate was much lower due to some maps being unable to spawn bosses.
I'm not personally a fan of that.
We've increased the rate to compensate for this issue so that we can get the actually intended rate. We're also adding a new type of tablet that allows you to add bosses to your maps with its own mod pool.
I think that's a good idea. So I think that adding the ability to add more bosses is a great idea. I think that by default forcing us to fight more and more bosses, because, you know, not everybody likes fighting the bosses. I personally am not a big fan of fighting the bosses. It's a bunch of extra time that you put into one enemy, and in my personal opinion, any rewards that I've ever gotten out of a boss aren't worth the extra time that you spend fighting them. Now, that was during the campaign. I don't know if bossing during maps is a little bit different, but still, I don't really want to spend a bunch of time killing a boss. Now, if they're easy to kill, like some of these super powerful builds that I've seen, maybe, but I don't know. I'm fine with just clearing out maps and then saving bosses for when I just feel like doing one. I don't want it to be something where it's random and I'm forced to do it. You know, in PoE 1, pretty much every map had a boss on it, and by the time I got to that point, I'm just like, now I got to fight the boss. And depending on, there were certain maps I just completely avoided because the bosses on them were just unreasonable.
Strongboxes also needed some love. They now spawn monsters faster, have a less annoying fog effect, and have also received changes to the timings and effects of the mods on them.
Good. I like anything that reduces annoying things. That's good.
Many maps had too much clutter, preventing effects on the ground from rendering, causing you to be unable to see and dodge them. We both changed the level of clutter on some maps and changed some effects to make sure that they are always visible. In addition, elemental explosion effects have had visibility improved, stick around for longer before they explode, and disappear without exploding if a rare monster dies.
Okay, I didn't quite catch that, but it sounds like some of the on-death effects have been made a little bit less frustrating and a little bit less deadly, which is a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Volatile plants are also way easier to see before they explode. Now we've also increased the zoom level on the Atlas. Done a pass on various terrain collision issues.
They need to increase the zoom level in the game so you can zoom out a little bit more and see a little bit more of the gameplay area. I think that would be a good thing too.
We've also
and they need to increase the zoom level on the maps too. I know you can kind of move the map around, but realistically, I'd rather just be able to zoom it out further and see a bigger chunk of the thing rather than having to slide the map around to find what I'm looking for.
Improve the load times of opening the world map and Atlas.
This has been one of my biggest gripes.
And we also now show the.
I hate waiting, 5 to 10 seconds sometimes, waiting for the interface for the map to load. If they fix that problem, make it where it's almost instantaneous, that's going to make the gameplay experience so much more better.
Biome of a map on the hover
So much more better. So much better. Sorry, my English is crap.
For other in-game content systems, we're focusing on getting all the rewards in line with what they should be. For Delirium, we recently fixed a bug which caused Delirium monsters to just not spawn after the starting part.
I don't think I've done any of the Delirium stuff, so I don't really know. I don't have
to make
a
it
comment
more
on
in line with the rate of finding the Expedition and Ritual bosses. For Ritual, we've made Omens now appear in the Ritual Tribute window 60% more often. For Expedition, we've improved the rarity from the shops.
Don't know anything about it.
We'll be wanting to make some more substantial changes to rewards for this league later on.
A lot of this endgame stuff, I don't really have a
one of the major
comment on.
concerns
Like Pinnacle stuff, I don't know anything about Pinnacle stuff.
Content just takes too long.
I'll let it play through so you guys can get the information.
You only get one attempt and don't get a chance to learn the boss. In order to address these concerns, we're making the following changes. First, we're making the Citadel spawn closer to the center of the Atlas, and we've also added.
I think this is a very good idea, though. A lot of people were complaining about this, the Citadel thing.
To address the problem of only having one attempt, on the Arbiter of Ash, you will now get up to 6 respawn attempts. Respawns can only be
that's a must. You have to have that. That's not it. Like I haven't done any of the Pinnacle content, obviously, but the idea of trying one of these main bosses once and that's all you get, no, there's no way. There's no way that your first time doing this, even if you research the boss and just try it, there's no way to get the timings and stuff down for a lot of this stuff in just one attempt. You're definitely going to need it for these really super hard bosses.
Spawned at the same time.
So that's a really good call.
Forfeits your attempt, so you'll still need to fight the boss with the build you walked into the map with. Higher difficulties of the boss will lower the number of respawn attempts you get, but you should know the mechanics of the fight by then, right?
I think that's fair. Making it so you can't change your character and try to tweak the system. Like, whatever build you have, you still got to beat him with that. I think that's fair. As much as I complain about things being difficult, I don't have a problem with difficulty. I just have a problem with things that waste your time. So, you fight all your way to get to this boss. You get one attempt. You get unlucky in that attempt, and then that boss is just completely gone. That's a waste of your time. But forcing you to stick with the build that you have and, learn how to use that build to kill the boss, that's at least reasonable. And especially for a Pinnacle boss like this, I think that's pretty fair.
We'll also be adding respawns to other Pinnacle content as well over time.
That's pretty fair.
Another thing that players have noticed is that there are less keys from Faradin Citadels on the market, and thought that it was because the Citadel spawns less often. That is. It turns out, though, that this is just because the boss kills players more often than the others. We've made a few changes to that boss to bring it in line with the other bosses.
Okay.
A lot of people have reported that many of our unique items are feeling underwhelming. Uniques are often designed
to be build enabling at high levels,
even if they're low-level uniques. But we realize that we do need to make sure that more uniques feel powerful when you first get them at low levels too.
Yeah.
In this patch, we are buffing a lot of uniques. These changes should make
I think
finding
that's a
uniques at
good
lower
thing.
levels a lot.
My issue with uniques has always been you can't modify them. They're uniques. Whatever you get, whatever that item has, that is what it is. And for the most part, I don't think I've, like, except for a couple of belts, I think I've more or less just kind of disenchanted every unique I've come across so far. I'm not super into trade because I don't like the way that trade is done in Path of Exile because, you know, you have to wait on other people. I'm not a fan of that kind of a system. So I just disenchant everything. But, you know, uniques are a good thing, especially if they provide you with something very specific that you need for your build. Outside of that, I don't really care that they're buffing these because I don't really use uniques that much anyway, because unless it has the specific stats I need, it's just not useful to me.
More fun. And make subsequent character
Uniques are really
playthroughs
good for
more fun
end
too,
game
when you
builds
have
where you need
great
some very
uniques to use.
specific feature.
We're also changing a few other things to make finding rares better at higher levels too. First, we're changing mod weightings a bit to make sure that there are less bad mods. Another fix is making high tier items no longer cull the highest tier modifier of a given mod type. This bug caused bows and crossbows to not spawn with attack speed at tier 5 rarity, and rings to not spawn with life at tier 5 rarity. Another change...
I'm sorry, but as far as items go, I think that with their intended idea being that they wanted white items to be much more important, I don't think that enough white items are available. When I go to the vendor, there should be like 3 or 4 versions of the same item that are all white items that I can buy, so I at least get a few attempts to enchant something to get the specific stats I'm looking for. Most of the time, I'm getting something that already has either, you know, 1 or 2 blue enchantments on it, and there's no whites for me to buy to try to get the specific things that I'm looking for. I also think that they need to update the way that the vendors work so that it's the gear that spawns in the vendor is heavily weighted towards your class rather than just being a random bunch of stuff, because most of the time I feel like, you know, 75-80% of the items in the store aren't even related to the class that I have. So I understand they want you to have the ability to like branch out and do different things with whatever class you are, but at the same time, I still want to make sure that I have at least 1 or 2 examples of each type of gear in the vendor so that I can that apply to the archetypical type of gear that I'm going to be wearing as my class, so that I'm able to, you know, buy stuff and maybe hopefully enchant things myself to get them where I want, so that way I'm not having to rely on RNG to give me what I need.
We're making is
or at least rely on it less.
Such as runes can now be overwritten with another socketable.
This is a great thing, being able to they're basically making where you can just take one rune and overwrite another one, which is great. But at the same time, I don't find that I get enough runes for that particular thing. I would rather be able to. I want them to make it so you can pull runes out of a socket, right? Make the runes more rare, and then you pull them out, and you're able to move them from one piece of gear to another. This is absolutely a great thing for them to do. They should do this. This is absolutely a greit thing. But I think the optimal way to do it with the fact that, you know, sometimes you just get really unlucky, and certain runes that you need they're just not dropping for you. So making it so that you can pull it, because these are actually pretty valuable. Being able to pull these out as well, so that you don't lose them when you do something, would be really nice. Either that or just drastically increase the drop rate of these, because this is a great way of being able to configure your character to bump up your resistances or add on some more damage or whatever it is that you need for your character to be a little bit more powerful. But if you don't have the runes that you need, being able to overwrite just doesn't help, because you don't have anything to overwrite with.
Now, as we continue to play, we still find many balance anomalies with specific monsters or bosses that can be nasty if you encounter them. This patch contains a pass adjusting a large number of those monsters and bosses.
I hope so.
We'll save the full list for the patch notes.
Yeah,
there are
we'll go over the patch notes once it
here.
comes out.
Should address many cases where monsters or
I'm really hoping that some of the ones I've addressed
in
in my previous review video, I'm really hoping that a lot of those issues have been addressed by the things that they're going to be doing for this, because some of those bosses have some. I mean, I've played through the campaign a bunch of times now because I just like leveling alts, and some of those bosses, even though I know what their mechanics are, I still struggle to kill them, and it's really not a skill issue. I know some of you are going to leave the comments a skill issue. No, a lot of it's just the way that some of the boss mechanics work. It's almost impossible to avoid them unless you have split-second precision, and if you don't avoid it, it's a one-shot, or it hits you, locks you in place, and hits you with a second thing, and then it's a one-shot. So it's like, they need to fix those things.
Here are a few examples to get a taste of what kind of changes you can expect. The Silver Fist Commander role now does a lot less damage.
Yes, that guy needed to be.
Detonate Dead can no longer be.
That guy needed to be
used from off screen and
nerfed quite a bit. That massive smash that he does, and especially he just comes at you right off screen when you're off screen. No.
And Lost Men Zealots can no longer meteor you from off screen either, as well as many other changes.
Anything off screen, anything removing an off screen effect is good.
One of the big issues for players on consoles is that the web-based item filter system is currently not working. This means that they can't use item filters like the PC users can.
Absolutely a
The
good thing.
0.1.1 will be enabling the same system that PoE 1 has, which allows you to subscribe to item filters on the website. For now, this will be done on the PoE 1 website.
I actually wasn't able to get that to work for me on PC.
Later on, we'll improve.
I went to the filter blade and I set up a filter blade, and I used a filter blade to set up a filter, and I tried to export it to my account, and it didn't go. So I don't know. I need to relearn how to do that, because clearly I didn't.
Improve the user experience of this and put it on the Path of Exile.
I just downloaded it and did it manually, but I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to just have it on my account.
A bunch of other smaller changes and bug fixes that I'm sure you guys will appreciate, like buffing armor and scavenged plating.
That's extremely important, because one of my favorite classes in this game is the Bone Shatter Warrior, and once I get to midway through Act 3, and I think I got my first iteration of him into some of the cruel stuff, but his survivability was just horrible. It was horrible, and I was trying to like get life and all that stuff, but he still takes too much damage. The armor definitely needs a massive upgrade.
Showing the number of uses left in your charms, as well as an effect when they trigger.
And yeah, that's probably a good thing, because I forget I even have charms on there. Like, I don't even know that they're there. I forget about them. They just sit there because, you know, it's a charm, and I don't really... From PoE, there were no charms in PoE 1, so I don't remember. I don't remember that they're there.
Of the Exiles.
Fixing the music that Una was supposed to play in town.
That's cool. Ambiance is always a good thing.
And plenty of other little fixes and improvements throughout the game. Now, we have a huge amount of much more meta-shifting changes that we know we want to make. And one of the best things about having the game in early access with the endgame is that we now have a much better idea of where we want character power to be and what the balance of bosses and monsters should be relative to that. But those types of changes are going to have to wait until we are ready to make a new league with a new economy for people to play in. That's still a little while away yet, but in the meantime, we'll be continuing to identify things that are causing frustration and try and address them. I want to thank you guys for playing and hope to be doing more of these in the future. Later.
All right, yeah, everything in this video sounds pretty good to me. Some of it does address some of the more annoying things about this game that's causing me to hate it. I think the dodge roll mechanic still needs a look. At least needs some kind of adjustment to make it to where, you know, the dodge roll mechanic is not mandatory, but that's a personal preference thing, obviously. I think a roadmap, a massive roadmap that just lists out, we don't need due dates, just, hey, this is the high priority stuff we're working on now, some medium priority, and then some low priority, just so we know what they're focusing on, right? Waiting for a video like this to find out what they're even thinking about it's kind of frustrating, because it makes us not really know what's going to be happening in the future. So it'd be really great if they put out some kind of a solid roadmap that makes it very easy for us to know what their plans are for the future. But outside of that, yeah, everything in this patch is great, and this particular fix right here, if it holds and it continues to make everything good, if it continues to make it, I can live with the game client crashing. I can't live with the game client crashing my computer. That's like, if that had continued, if it was going to continue for a long period of time, I would stop playing, because I'm not going to constantly have to reset my computer for a game. But yeah, hopefully that fixes that. All of the things that we see in the patch notes here are good. I think that yeah, I think a roadmap would be great, and just, you know, never give out dates for when you're going to do things, because then when you miss a date, the community gets mad. But if you just you know, a priority list of the things that they're working on, so hopefully we can see something like that pretty soon. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Obviously you could just watch the video itself, but having someone else kind of give their take on it gives you another point of view to hopefully make you have a more rounded opinion of it. So that's what I think about it. Hopefully you agree with some of that. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks. Or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. Also have PayPal and Patreon links in the description. And be sure to come back for future videos. We're continuing to do mapping, and I also have a new mercenary build that I found. That's a lot of fun. So there's a video coming for that pretty soon too. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to come back for future content, and I'll see you then.